The novel Romance of the Three Kingdoms depicts the conflict schemes among three feuding territories, which saw formation and breaking of alliances. The remaining military soldiers and civil advisors from the collapsed Han Dynasty align themselves with the most likely victor. As aforementioned, the novel is vast and extensive, with hundreds of characters that appear within its pages along with memorable episodes that have become valuable materials in the Chinese literature. For example, one of the most notable incidents within the narrative features Liu Bei and his followers who are introduced in the beginning as the remaining heirs of the ruling class. From his childhood, Liu Bei had the aspiration of becoming an imperial ruler. However, the story begins when Liu Bei is 28 years old. During this time, he took a brotherhood oath with Zhang Fei and Guan Yu. Together, the three heroes were bound by their ceremonial vow to restore the fallen Han Dynasty and to stand by each other until the death. In detail, one of the main themes of the novel highlights the dire consequences of breaking the oath. Throughout Chapter 1, the three sworn brothers led by Liu formed a rebellious relationship with the notorious two-faced villain Cao Cao, who had imperial aspirations. Cao Cao had a selfish and inhumane attitude that is summarized by his assertion in Chapter 4, where he says, "Better to wrong the world than having the world wrong him." On the onset of the books, Liu Bei and Cao Cao allied to fight Dong Zhuo, who had a hand in the collapsing of Han regime. As the story unfolds, Cao Cao and the three sworn brothers disintegrated immediately after realizing the latter group poses a serious threat to his sole ambition to displace the Han Dynasty completely. The novels depict Cao Cao as a protagonist whom many readers in different generations have come to hate. Cao Cao's character resonates well with the contemporary drama, which creates a villain with the human weaknesses of universal significance. After dissolving of their alliance with Cao Cao, the three brothers found themselves in an awkward position as they had strong armies, however, they lacked territory to foster their ambitions. At this point in the novel, Liu Bei is introduced to a smart leader called Zhuge Liang, who has been in seclusion over the years. Zhuge Liang became a significant figure in the novel despite appearing late in the narrative. The author depicts Zhuge Liang as an enduring character by combining aspects of legendary status and history. Liu Bei's coalition with Zhuge Liang resulted in the plotting of a cunning scheme to oust the old guard such as Cao Cao of Han Dynasty. The plan was successful as the kingdom divided into a tripartite division of empire after defeating Cao Cao, hence creating a territory for the three sworn brothers. Although the strategy was successful in the first place, tensions ensued between Sun's and Liu's territory. Constant feuds between the two camps led to the death of influential military advisors and other generals such as Zhou Yu, which severed the alliance between Liu and Sun. After that, Liu launched an attack on Sun's territory despite Zhuge's warning. The attack was unsuccessful as he died sick and defeated. He was later succeeded by Liu Bei's son. As an advisor, Zhuge Liang opted to support Liu Bei's ambitions of restoring the Han Dynasty and reunifying China at large, as well as reinstating the Liu family as the rulers of Han. Zhuge Liang later died in the struggle at the point where Liu was attempting to retake Wei, northern China headed by General Sima Yi. Towards the end of the novel, the descendants of Sima Yi managed to dispose of the Weis and reunite China under the new Jin dynasty. The story dramatically ends with the fall of Wu, as the author concluded with a lengthy poem reiterating the incidents and commenting on the evanescence of human life.
During the Three Kingdoms period, the author paints a picture of ancient China as Rome that used the influence of its power to dominate other regions. Regarding technology, ancient China was more advanced compared to Western countries at that time. Through mediums such as movies, viewer learned the strategic toward this formation to the use of crossbows and fire in the film. In addition, leaders such as Cao Cao and Zhou Yu are portrayed as lovers of music and arts, as Cao Cao often admired the art of serving tea, while Zhou Yu always plays his guqin. Moving on to religion, during the Han Dynasty, the Buddhism religion had already arrived in China. However, at the fall of Han Dynasty, the religion splits into two, namely Dhyana and Prajna. While Dhyana placed much emphasis on the suppression of passions, concentration, and control of the mind, whereas Prajna primarily focused on instilling reality and conditioned facts into mindset and characters of the believers. The spread of Buddhism was rapid across the kingdom due to the high influence of the devoted followers. The introduced court system functioned well, along as basis of the judgments were drawn from the religious teachings. In addition, the court was not only worshipping the Buddha but also received sponsorship and protection from the emperors. The narrative has manifested in various versions to conform to the changes of the 21st century. For example, the theatrical releases of the novel have become the most memorable events in the Chinese culture today. Through stage performance, many audiences have known the essential characters, the Three Kingdoms, better than actual readings. The audience is provoked into deep thoughts that trigger a tremendous visual enjoyment when it is brought alive for the contemporary audience. Notably, there is a significant alteration made on the performance from the original narrative, although the basic plot has remained the same. Despite the fact that the chaotic relationship between the three kingdoms sabotaged the economy, still it spearheaded the militaristic and technological advancement. The struggle led the invention of guns, gunpowder, fireworks, and training in high-level military skills. Moreover, the art of metalwork improved drastically with the increase in the demand to strengthen the army. Apart from weaponry invention, the three kingdoms are regarded as the founders of many social and economic machinery such as the windmill for irrigation and improved agricultural practices that boosted the production of silk in Luoyang, Henan, and Shu irrigation schemes. The author also covers the development and growth of Confucianism, the Chinese representative form of religion, philosophy, and tradition that is highly practiced and applied in the present China. The interaction between Liu Bei and Zhang Fei evidences the application of Confucianism idea of filial piety, which emphasizes on standing up for right and the individual's capacity to choose right over bad. In other words, Confucianism urges its followers to stick to doing the right thing, even if it means disagreeing with elderly in the society. For example, Zhang Fei advised Liu Bei to fight against Cao Cao's army even if it could have cost his life, although Liu had a treaty with Cao Cao. On the other hand, Confucianism insists on the respect to the elderly but not at the expense of truth and righteousness.
Regarding economic and social planning, the Southern Kingdom of Wei was orderly and robust due to their aristocracy policies. For example, the kingdom introduced a civil service system that tracks the valuable contribution of each to the prosperity of Wei. In addition, the system mostly favored the noble citizens over the peasants, as the former was placed on high salaries, exempted from paying taxes among other privileges. Similar scenarios have been witnessed in the modern Chinese society where the wealthy and the noble citizens are marrying within their social rights. On the contrary, the Northern Kingdom practiced a system of equality where the noble citizen and the commoners had equal rights and opportunities. However, the kingdom had strict reforms and policy to strengthen the empire. Many scholars have attributed the modern-day ruling styles and types of leadership in China to the Northern Kingdom. For example, like during the Three Kingdom era, current leaders today also surround themselves with numerous chief advisors. Also, the Northerner influenced the Chinese style of clothing, landscaping, architecture, interior designs, cuisine, as well as the official language of China today. Another twist of the history of the Three Kingdoms appear in the way characters are portrayed in the video games, Dynasty Warriors. Characters in the video games are categorized and segregated to their respective clans, but some are perceived as good and bad. For instance, Zhao Yun, a character under the Shu dynasty, is perceived to be a protagonist, serving his leader well and fighting for his troops to rid of his enemies. On the other hand, the infamous Cao Cao of the Wei dynasty is perceived as an antagonist, wanting to subjugate nations for personal domination and power. Although this isn't entirely wrong, the video game portrayal of these characters are heavily exaggerated to create a more entertaining narrative that slightly alters the historical characteristics of the people involved. In light of the nuances incorporated in the video games, characters are shaped into becoming individuals with solidified personalities, which makes it easier for the audience to love or hate them, eventually boosting sales in an upward trajectory for the video game developers. One prominent character in the video games is Lu Bu, known as the strongest fighter amongst the whole dynasty. The way Lu Bu is dressed and displayed in the video games are depicted to be more superior relative to everyone else, which isn't necessarily the case in history. Although he was one of the most dominant warrior, the video game portrayal of Lu Bu is most definitely too exaggerated to the point where his prowess is unparalleled. The inclusion of weapons and abilities, specially allocated to the major characters of the Three Kingdoms, places an exaggeration of their expertise in fighting, which is also a big distinction to the historical perception. Furthermore, death is another aspect where a character's demise is exaggerated. The deaths of some characters in the video games and movies are also modified to create a more remarkable storyline. For instance, the movie Red Cliff illustrates Gan Ning, a pirate from the Wu dynasty, as a warrior who died a heroic death by sacrificing himself through a kamikaze attack to open the gate for his faction. This creates a heroic portrayal of the character even though his demise in reality didn't occur in that way.